Welcome again to this month of mindfulness. We're going to take a little time today to keep with an attitude of gratitude. So let's just be grateful for our simple materials, a pen, a pencil, and a wee torchon, and a very simple small piece of paper that we're going to do our tangling on today. And the tangle that I want to cover today is a very simple one called Hollibaugh. It's often another early learnt tangle, and it introduces the concept of drawing behind. So, if you want to just close your eyes for a minute and imagine you are a carpenter, and you need a small length of wood to finish a project, you head off to your offcut pile, and there is a whole host of different lengths of wood, all little offcuts from previous projects. None of these offcuts are wrong, they're all just pieces of wood that did, at the time, not fit the project that you were working on. But you haven't thrown them away either. You've kept them, knowing that one day each of those pieces will be just what you're looking for. And that's the inspiration of this tangle today. And we're going to draw that little offcut wood pile. So, in our usual balance, I'm going to take my tile and I'm going to draw my string. Obviously with my hexagonal tile, it's a very obvious string for me. If you're working off a different shape, feel free to do your 4 corner dots and your border. Here's my simple one, and if you remember, we'll pick up our pen, and I talked about that plank of wood. This plank of wood is going to go across the section. So it doesn't matter where you start, just draw a line that goes across the section on your tile, and then give itself a parallel line. That's our first plank of wood. Rotate your tile, and we're going to draw another plank. And you remember how I said all of those planks of wood are different? So this time, as we draw our line across, when you reach the first plank that you've already drawn, just hover your pen over and put it back down the other side to carry on. Only this time, when you do your second one, this time it's not actually parallel. I'm still going to use that point of drawing behind, but perhaps I've got one which is a little bit wider at one end than the other. Remember, each of these planks will have its own version. Maybe the offcut has been cut differently from the last piece. And as we slowly build up this tangle, each time we bump into a plank that we've already drawn, we're just going to hover our pen over, put it back down the other side, and you have drawn one plank behind the other. I'll rotate the tile and do the same thing again. No matter how many times I add, if I've got one plank that I've already drawn, I'll just hop over and put my pen back down the other side. And you may have a plank of wood that has just got warped in the sun, and perhaps has a little curve to it now. Maybe it's just a very small sliver of a piece of wood, but just follow the same principle. Each time, hover your pen over and pop it back down the other side. Maybe the next plank is quite thick. Maybe it even has a hole in it, perhaps where a knot fell out. Or perhaps we go back to nature. Maybe a branch or a twig landed on your wood pile. It reminds you too to notice that nature too can have its own patterns. Definitely worth noticing. Perhaps you look out the window and you see this silhouette of branches on a tree outside. It's the same tangle, Hollibaugh. And after you've done your tile today, maybe look outside and spot the drawing behind technique that we've covered today. Once you think you've got enough planks to fill your particular tile, we'll switch to our pencil and do our shading. When I do my shading, I usually try and find the first plank that I drew, and then I'll pop a little bit of graphite just on the outside of those two lines. Here, I'll rotate my tile round, and this side. And when I use my tortillon just to gently blend out the graphite, just a little bit, you'll see that the tile begins to come to life. And that top plank pops out over the others. I always think the shading is a little bit like adding some oil or varnish to a piece of wood. It just brings out the grain. You can do the whole plank again, or just where you've got a spot where one plank went behind another, you can just throw a little bit of graphite down to encourage the look of a shadow and the look of it going behind the other one. Each time I'll find the same spot where one plank goes underneath another. I'll just add a little bit of shading. I sometimes just pop a wee dot of graphite, and that's enough to then switch to my tortillon and just pull it out gently from the sides. Each time, rotate your tile so that you can get the point of your blending tool into exactly where you want it to be. I always have a double check and find I've missed one of my overlaps. Oh, that's okay. I just accept, evaluate, and move on. When you've finished with this tangle, you can also choose to go back with your pen and fill in the gaps on the sections. I'm just doing the bits between each of my planks. Again, I'm rotating my tile to make it the same repetitive, easy stroke for me to do each time. Just keeping those lines deliberate. Until I'm back at the start. Sometimes you find that your blending tool has enough graphite on it just to pop a little shade on without actually having to add any more graphite. And once you're happy, you can even blend your string edge if you like, where the pencil is still showing through the spaces. And then again, spend a bit of time just appreciating what you've drawn. Rotate it round, see how different it looks from different angles. See if there's a right way up. Does one look different to another? A little bit of curiosity is a lovely way before you pop in your chop. And let's say you may have done it differently to me, and that's fine. Here's a couple of other options that I did. Weighting one side of the lines, or just doing a very simple one with easy shading. However you've chosen to do it today, as yours won't look like mine, and there are lots of different ways to draw Hollibaugh. I hope you've had fun. Enjoy and appreciate the rest of your day.